Psalms 22, Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53, they say it's talking about the suffering servant. Okay. The Jews and the Christians, they differ on the interpretation of this chapter. Isaiah 53. Okay, Isaiah 53. Psalms 22. The problem is, if it, you would have to show that where, for example, Paul, I think it's Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, he mentions 1 Corinthians chapter 15, it mentions that it is written that Jesus will die and will be buried for 3 days and three nights and will be returned. This, what Paul says, that it is written, it can't be found anywhere in the Old Testament. Matthew talks about Jesus will be a Nazarene. I mean, obviously, we're in Stratford on a Saturday afternoon, but you can look these things up. This prophecy cannot be found anywhere in the Old Testament. There's many prophecies in the New Testament which people will say is talking about Jesus. Like there's one I can give you very off the top of the head. Matthew chapter 2, verse 15. Matthew, or the unknown author of Matthew, who they say is Matthew, it says that when Jesus was born, Herod, who was the ruler at the time of the area, he was told that a child will be born amongst the children of Israel in Bethlehem who would be your demise, who would bring you down. So Herod issued an order that all the children in Bethlehem should be killed. This is something which historians say we have no evidence for. We have evidence.
There is evidence.
We have evidence of Herod. We have evidence of the crimes of Herod, but not these.
3,000 children's
Okay. Okay, I will look that up.
archaeologically.
I will look that up. Okay. So the story in Matthew mentions, it is not mentioned in any other gospel. The story in Matthew mentions that Mary and Joseph, they took the baby Jesus to Egypt. Okay. When they heard of the death of Herod, they returned from Egypt. Yeah. So Matthew says, out of Egypt I have called my son, in order to fulfill what was prophesied. Okay. So this is considered by Christians a prophecy from the Old Testament of Jesus. Okay. When you go back to the Old Testament, the book of Hosea, chapter 11, verse 1, the author of Hosea is saying that the children of Israel, my son, I took them out of Egypt. It's talking about the children of Israel when they were in slavery under Pharaoh, that Moses took them out. So the children of Israel, my son, I took them out of Egypt. And then it continues by saying, and then you began to worship other gods and follow different customs. So Matthew is using a quote from the Old Testament, which is referring to the children of Israel under Pharaoh when Moses was the prophet messenger sent to them. And he's using it for Jesus. So you can see here is a misuse of text.
Why would that be about Moses?
Okay. It says the children, okay, is it about Jesus?
Yes.
The children of Israel, my son.
Right.
I took you out of Egypt, and then after taking you out, you began to worship false gods. Is that talking about Jesus? Was Jesus considered the whole tribe of children of Israel who were taken out of Egypt?
We are the children of Israel.
And then began to worship false gods. Is that talking about Jesus? That's my point. But that's what Matthew used.
When did Moses worship false gods?
No, the children of Israel. It mentioned the children of Israel, my son.
Yeah, that's us. That's the people.
So therefore, even if it's you, this verse is not talking about Jesus.
How can you be so sure?
Okay, let's say it again. Matthew, or the author of Matthew, has used it for Jesus coming out of Egypt.
Yes.
And he says that out of Egypt I will call my son,
Yes.
referring to Jesus.
Yes.
Matthew says in words to the effect, is Matthew 2:15, in order to fulfill what has been written, meaning the Old Testament. When you go back to the Old Testament, the only reference is Hosea chapter 11, verse 1, where it says, "The children of Israel, my son, I have taken them out of Egypt. And once I took them out of Egypt, you began to worship false gods." So therefore, this is not talking about Jesus.
How? How is that not talking about Jesus Christ?
Okay. Is Jesus considered all of the children of Israel? Okay. And when Jesus was taken out of Egypt, did he begin to worship false gods?
No, but the people did.
Uh-huh.
The people did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So therefore, if it's talking about the people, the children of Israel, that they began to worship false gods. That's what Hosea is talking about. He's not talking about someone called Jesus who will come in hundreds of years later.
I think you're contradicting yourself, to be honest.
Okay, how?
Because you're saying that it's not about Jesus.
Yeah.
When it's saying, I pulled my son out of Egypt.
No, it says, "The children of Israel, my son." So God is, according to Hosea, is telling you who is being referred to as the children of Israel. You know, the son in the Old Testament and the New Testament is used for other people other than Jesus. Like Adam is the son of God. Solomon is the son of God. Blessed are the peacemakers, so they shall be the son of God. So the children of Israel themselves, collectively, they are called the son of God in the Old Testament. So here it says, the children of Israel, my son, I took you out of Egypt, past tense, and then you began to worship false idols. This is paraphrased, but you can go back to Hosea 1 down to about 5. This is not talking about Jesus.
Right, well,
I mean, most Christians,
there's not enough evidence for you to suggest that.
most Christians, what they will say, and you can check. You don't have to. Obviously, you don't have to take anything I say. But most Christians will say, yes, Hosea is talking about the children of Israel, but it's a shadow of Jesus, or they'll say it's a double prophecy.
Right. Well, let's move on to the next part.
Yeah.
Tell me about this prophecy of Isaiah when he says he will be pierced for our transgressions and he will be crushed for our iniquities.
And then it continues to say, firstly, the Jews, they say that the pierced is the wrong translation. That's
Why would
one.
that be the wrong translation?
I don't.
The Jews would obviously
Let me just.
because they killed their Messiah.
Okay. Let me just say something. What you'll find is that the unknown authors of the New Testament. Yes. No problem. The unknown authors of the New Testament, the unknown authors of the Gospels, they took things. They were reading the Old Testament when they were writing. So they're writing things in order to fulfill prophecies. So they're writing that this happened like this, like this, like this.
So you're saying Isaiah was not a prophet?
No, I'm not saying that.
So he's a liar?
No, let me finish. If you continue reading Isaiah 53, it continues to say that this person, he will live a long life and he will see his generations after him.
Is he not living a long life?
Who, Jesus? And is he seeing his generations after him? Seed, his children.
Has he not seen all of the generations since that happened?
See, the thing is, the Old Testament, when it uses the word seed, it's talking about your offspring. You have children, you have grandchildren, you have great-great-grandchildren. Did this happen to Jesus? Did he have children, according to you?
Oh, physically. But that doesn't mean that's his generation. The generations of us all. That's the generation.
Not his generation. See,
why is it not his generation?
See what
we are his people.
Okay.
So why is that not his generation?
Okay. This is the problem. When you take words which have a literal meaning, and then you give them a metaphoric meaning. So, for example, even when Christians they talk about son, what do you mean by son? When we talk about other people being the son of God, they will say, no, this is metaphoric. This is about status. But Jesus is the literal son of God. So they jump between literal and literal. Yes.
Is God physical and literal, or is God spirit?
Okay. According to Islam, we believe in God by what He has informed us by revelation in the Quran and in the Sunnah. So God will be seen on the Day of Judgment. God has features which we'll see.
You know who's judging us, Because you believe he's
No,
coming back.
no.
Why is he coming back?
See, the thing is, you're jumping from question to question to question.
No, we're going through it.
But we haven't finished. We haven't finished one point. According to, do you believe that God is physical or spirit?
Spirit.
He's spirit. Okay. Do you believe that God walked in the garden?
Of course.
Okay. And that walking, was it spiritual or physical?
Physical.
So was it God or it wasn't God?
You're saying
Yeah.
that you're limiting God by saying that. You're saying that God cannot come down and walk if he wants to. He can do anything.
Okay.
Why are you limiting his power?
I haven't done anything. You just said that God is spirit,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to quote you from the Old Testament where God was physical. But and I'm not limiting
He
it.
can be what he wants.
Okay.
His essence is spirit. But if he wants to humble himself, as he did
Yeah.
with Jesus Christ,
No.
he can come down into flesh.
Before Jesus.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
what you're saying. But
So
he
in
can do that if he chooses.
okay, in the Ancient of Days, in the Gospel according to Daniel. Oh, sorry, not the Gospel. Sorry, the Book of Daniel. It mentions that the Ancient of Days will be on the throne. Okay, when he's on the throne, the Son of Man will come to the throne. Christians will say the Son of Man is Jesus, and they will say the Ancient of Days is referring to God. This describes God as sitting on the throne. Is that spiritual?
You're missing the point. He can be physical if he wants, but his essence,
Okay.
what he is,
Does he change?
if he wants, no.
Okay, but the Old Testament says that God doesn't change.
Where does it say that?
Unfortunately, I don't have the quotation now. I don't have my
That's
phone with me.
convenient.
No problem. But look it up. Look it
I
up.
don't need to look it up.
You don't need to look it up.
But are you saying I need to look up if God can do what he wants? If he can become physical or remain spirit, if he wants.
Can he do anything he wants?
Anything.
Can he stop existing?
Why would that be? He doesn't. It's not bound by our law. Existence doesn't exist in heaven, in the spirit. There's no beginning, there's no end. There's no time. There's no. You cannot.
Does God exist?
Of course.
Okay. Have you limited him by saying he exists?
No.
Okay. Can he stop existing?
He will stop existing.
God.
Judgment Day.
God will stop existing.
Yes.
So he's not the first and the last.
Of course.
So how will he stop existing?
Let me finish. On Judgment Day, all of those who reject him, he will cease to exist to them.
No.
This world will be barren of God. He won't be here. He will cease to exist.
But will he sit? No. You're complicating
In
it.
the physical world, not entirely. In the physical, in this earth,
Okay.
he won't be here.
That's my point. You said that we can't limit God. And I asked you, can he cease existing? And you said yes. But then you clarified, you don't actually mean that he ceased to exist. You mean to this world, to this realm. Yeah. So he's still existing.
Of course.
So have you limited God?
How have I limited God?
By saying that he's unable to cease existing.
I didn't say that. I didn't say he's unable to do
so
that.
answer my question then, can he stop existing? For us we say no, he cannot stop existing because he is eternal. He's eternal.
See those kind of questions, we are not able to comprehend the answers. We don't know those answers.
Okay.
We don't know where God came from, where he's going. It's not for us to know.
Okay.
It's not for us to know those heavenly answers.
Okay. But from the Quran, from Revelation, we know that God is the first without a beginning, the last without an end, and he always exists with all his names and all his attributes. He doesn't become less, he doesn't increase, he doesn't change, he doesn't stop existing because he is God. That's why he alone deserves to be worshipped. So the thing is, when you said that God is able, when you said God is a spirit, but he's able to walk on the earth, and then you replied to me that if I don't accept this, then I'm limiting God. I'm showing you that you limit God also by saying that he has to exist eternally.
You're putting words in my mouth. Bro. I didn't say that. I
Okay.
didn't say that. You said that.
So let me explain to you what we mean. God is almighty.
Yes.
So he can never be weak.
No.
This is not limiting God. This is giving God his due.
Yes.
When we say that God is all-knowing, he can never become ignorant. This is not limiting God. This is giving him his due majesty, that he is all-knowing. When we say that God is ever-existing, and he's the all-living, the self-sustaining, when we say that God doesn't die, when we say that God doesn't stop existing, this is not belittling God and saying he's unable to do something. No, this is affirming God's majesty. So when you say that God can do anything and he become a man, we're saying no, this is belittling of God. When you say
Why
that,
is that belittling God?
okay, because God is not a man.
He's not a man.
Man is a created being, but you're saying he's able to become a man.
Why wouldn't he be able to do that? If he's all powerful and almighty, why can't he do that?
Okay. The question: why can God not become a man if he's almighty and all powerful? Is a man almighty and all powerful?
No.
That's the answer.
But God is. So it's not an answer. If God is almighty, he can become a man if he chooses.
But that man is not almighty, is he?
But with him he is.
So a man can be almighty and all powerful.
A man, God can be almighty.
Not can, he is.
Of course.
Yeah.
He is.
But when you say he becomes a man, man is limited. Man, by definition.
God is not.
Okay. Therefore, God will not become a man because God is almighty. A man is weak, deficient. God is all-knowing. Man has ignorance.
He's not just going to be a common man, is he? It's going to be Jesus Christ, one who performs miracles, one who walks on water, one who died for you.
Okay, man. But we're talking about God becoming a man. That's the first point. Even Jesus himself, according to your book, it says that of my own self I cannot do anything.
Right. Describing man.
Yeah. So that's not God.
Man cannot do nothing without the Father, so that's facts.
No, man. But Jesus is saying I cannot do anything of my own self.
Yes, because he was a man.
So that's the whole point. So therefore, man is not God, and Jesus is not God.
You're limiting God, bro. You're saying, yes, man, I'm nothing without God. So even God, who used to come here as a man, he would need God. You understand? To be almighty, us without God is nothing. We know this.
Because we're in need. We're dependent upon God.
Exactly. Is he dependent on himself?
God is completely independent, not in need of anything. Yes. So therefore, if Jesus is dependent upon God, if man is dependent upon God, man is not God. Man is not worthy of worship.
Son. It's not the Father.
What do you mean by son?
He is the physical representation of the living God.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, we can't see God.
Okay.
But we saw God in Jesus Christ.
Okay, so when Jesus died, is this a physical representation, this death of Jesus, is this a physical representation of God, of the Father?
I'm not catching the question.
Okay, when Jesus died on the cross, according to the Christian belief, according to the New Testament, is this a physical representation of God?
Yes.
Okay, what is it representing? So the representation is that the man...
It's the ultimate sacrifice.
Okay, so man died, and it's representing that God died.
God cannot die. It's just a silly question.
Therefore,
the body
that's not
he was
God.
in died.
Okay.
The body.
And the body was what? According to the Gospel of God.
The man body.
According to the Gospel of John, which obviously we don't accept. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God.
The Word is Christ.
And the Word became flesh.
Yes.
So the flesh died. So the Word died.
The Word can never die. The Word is God. How can the Word die?
So the Son of God didn't die for the sins of mankind then?
Do we still hear Jesus Christ's words today?
Did he die and was
Do we still hear his words?
Did he die for 3 days and was brought back after
Yes.
and resurrected?
Yes.
So therefore that's not God.
How? Where's your logic on that?
You have said, and we agree, that God cannot die.
Yes.
You believe that Jesus died. Therefore he's not God.
But his soul went on. His soul did not die. The
Okay.
spirit did not die.
Did your book say?
Word
Did your book say?
die.
Did your book say the word? Yeah, help yourself. Did your book say that the word became a soul, or the word became flesh?
So you're saying God has no soul?
We're not talking about this. You are saying that the word, that the soul did not die, the physical body died, the flesh.
Yes.
But according to your book, the word, according to your book, says is God. Yeah. So, if you are saying that the word became flesh, and the flesh died, that is the word that died, which is God, according to you. That's
Christ.
And Jesus Christ is not God?
It's the Son.
He's not God. He's the Son of God.
It's the Son of God. It's the Son.
What do you distinguish between the Father and the Son? So Jesus, you don't believe is fully God.
When you have a son,
Yeah.
has your face, has
Yeah.
your personality, has your DNA, your essence.
Yeah. I'm a human, and my
Yes.
son is a.
Human.
Okay.
But God is not a human.
So the Father is God. The Father is God. What is his Son?
His spirit. Everything that Jesus was came from God.
No.
And you believe this
No,
yourself.
But you believe that God and Jesus are separate.
They are one spirit. They are all the essence of God. They are separate entities. Jesus Christ was the physical man that came to earth.
Yeah.
The Father is the Heavenly Father.
So is
His
Jesus?
spirit
Is
is
Jesus?
the one that binds them both together.
So is Jesus God?
Jesus is the Son of God. I've said this so many times.
Okay. But I'm not asking you, is Jesus the Son of God? I'm asking you, is Jesus God?
And
It's
I'm saying he's the Son of God.
Okay, so he's not God. He's the Son of God. Like, for example, my name is Yousuf. Someone says, my son, is this the son of Yousuf? Or, if someone says, because for example, we look the same, etc. Obviously, I'm an older version. Someone says, is this I'm Yousuf. Someone says, is this Yousuf? And say, no, this is the son of Yousuf.
Yes,
So therefore, my son is not me.
I know that.
Okay, I'm human. My son is human. So therefore, when you're saying that the Father is God and Jesus is the Son of God, you're saying that Jesus is not God.
That's not what I'm saying at all. You're literally putting words in my mouth.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Because look, I'm asking in a very simple way. Is
I don't
Jesus?
think you are. I think you're trying to.
Is Jesus
you're really
God?
trying to stir it up and trying to
Is Jesus
twist
God?
my words.
Is Jesus God?
Jesus is the Son of the living God, the representation, the image of the living God.
So he's not God.
Did I say he was God? Once. Did I say that?
So he's not God. You can
No.
just. Okay, he's not
the
God.
Son of God.
Okay. So we're on the same page then. Jesus is not
You're
God.
because you don't believe he's the Son of God.
Okay.
You believe he's a man.
But you believe he's not God.
No. I believe he's one with God.
What do you mean by being one with God?
He and God, although separate, are one in spirit.
Explain further, if you don't mind.
So you have a son.
Yes.
You're different.
Yes.
Your DNA is the same.
Yeah, but
Is it not?
But I'm human and he's human, and we're separate
But
beings.
God is not human. I don't know why you keep saying human.
And we're talking about my
Because
son.
God can never-
But God is not my son, and I'm not God. But you mentioned my son to make it clear.
But you're not God.
Yes.
So you don't have control of what your son is. You can't create your son the way you want.
But it's too
But
human.
God can.
But the point is, when I have a son, it becomes two human beings. I have a human nature, he has a human nature.
You're comparing yourself to God, you're not God, so you can't say that.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand what you believe. So you believe that Jesus is not God, but he's the Son of God.
He is one with God. He is the Son of God, and they are one.
What does that mean? So does
I just told you what that means.
But
so
I want
a son.
Yeah.
He looks different. He's a completely different being.
Yeah.
Comes from you. His DNA is yours. You share the same DNA.
Yeah.
The same. You give him your attributes as your son. Everything that he is comes from you.
Yeah.
What else do I need to say?
So we have two human beings.
God be with you.
Assalamu alaikum. Are you okay? Alhamdulillah.